Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan, Talk Cosmos, and today we are igniting a new system cycle. Life is full of cycles. That is what makes astrology. Yet this year, 2025, as you may have noticed with countless astrology forecasts, pardon that word, but just presentations, I prefer that. The cycles are making dramatic changes, and we've just experienced one as of yesterday. The nodes, these karmic destiny points, they're pathways of points, yet they lead us from our past baggage, and this is on a collective scale, to our, what they call Dharma, what we've created so far and what we're familiar with its polarity opposite of the path that is going to show our growth. And Talk Cosmos is really about our soul growth. And it's also about debunking cliches of negativity in the sense that it is a holistic viewpoint. I'm beginning to realize the importance of revocalizing that for myself and for everybody, because there are always two sides to every polarity, and the nodes really structure this. Without any more, thank you for listening and for subscribing and liking. And we will begin now with Planet Buzz.
Focusing on perspectives of pattern-planet cycle relationships and understanding their archetypal energy consciousness, reflecting through history, current events, mythology, and philosophical questions, these are the members of Planet Buzz.
I'm Sue Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
And I'm Dr. Laura Todd. I work as a spiritually oriented psychological astrologer with students and clients around the world. As a counselor, writer, and educator, I love helping people recognize their inner strengths, take advantage of auspicious moments, and navigate times of challenge with greater ease. On my own podcast, Mythic Sky Storytime, I discuss astrology, mythology, and actualizing our full potential. Learn more at mythicsky.com.
Plus, a special guest who we will introduce in just a short moment.
And as the ancient Hermetic code reveals,
as below, so above. As above, so below.
Hello, Laura.
Hi.
Yeah, great to see you as you're abroad over in Ireland, zooming in, and we hope your connection stays with us. It's really a global time, isn't it? I think just the the nodes in Pisces, that was, anyway, combining words, really shows that unity of space and location, perhaps. Looking on
Yes, and I'm staying with my Piscean papa, so.
Beautiful. Well, that's 100%. Well, we are very pleased to bring with us a member that has been on different times, and a real entrepreneur and a marketing genius. He's worked with Tarot.com to make it work functionally, and with Jan Spiller and Michael Luton, all kinds of amazing people in astrology world. His name is Sean Kelly. His astrological, hi, Sean, is Evolutionary Astro for his astrological site, and he has leadership. He's a lecturer, workshop facilitator, consultant, many factors. So it's really great to have you, Sean. Nope, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, indeed. You've come in.
Lovely, lovely. All right. Well, hey, we're diving into this big nodal shift from like this Aries I am energy to this complete like the beginning of the beginning of the zodiac to the end of the zodiac to like this whole spiritual like embracing everything and all, and what a profound shift for that north node, you know.
It truly is, because nodes for people, well, we'll go into the nodes, but they go backwards. So yes, from Aries, our spark, to the whole of unity. It's most incredible. Perhaps here, this shows a little bit the diagram of the paths between the moon and the sun. They cross. One, as it ascends, it's going towards the north, and as it descends, it's going around the south. And that's literally on our planet too, in the sense that the planet's moving northward. So northward is always that new ground that we're learning.
And this would be the north node making that shift. And kind of like collectively, I see the fire of Aries and what's happening in Southern California, and how that fire of Aries is the element of fire.
Oh boy.
With a node in it, and then shifting to Pisces, and I'm seeing all this outpouring of like all these businesses opening up with donations,
Yes.
and all the unification that's going on as well down there, which is really, really, really beautiful. Because you think about LA, and it's like everybody's kind of like out to get each other type of thing, and what have you.
It's a very burgeoning entrepreneurial area throughout history. It's really, and an ancient, I mean, not ancient, but I was looking up for California. It's 1780s. I mean, it's shortly after the United States started that California became a state. It's one of
it was part of Mexico for quite a long time.
It is.
And then we bought it from them.
Yeah. Well, here, looking at this in another respect, just talking about that Piscean energy, because it is archetypally our commonality that we see in unity, and it's a healing process, which Virgo wants to do too, how to fix. So by healing this collective energy, it is really demonstrative. Yes.
And Virgo is so much about service, right? I mean, we think about it as the hyper analytical sign, but it is also about service and that blending, and not that this is only impacting LA, but thinking about Neptune governing film, which is what, and
big
right,
time.
that's a piece of that. And music, and I'm forgetting now, there's a music instrument chain that has posted any musicians who've lost instruments in the fire, they will help them
that sends
replace their
goosebumps.
Instruments, right?
Oh,
So that's also
goosebumps.
Neptunian and this Virgonian
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. I was just thinking simply, how are people going to go to work? What if they lost their computers? Much less where to go to work, but you need your computer. It just gets so elementary as far as how our world is connected. Yet again and again, I see it posts of people. Perhaps you too know people as in astrology world, various ones who live in the nearby area who haven't lost their homes. They may be dislocated, but they're reaching out saying, you can come to my house. So it's very generous.
There's a lot of doors opening, but it is pretty devastating. Myself living in the forest, living in a very fire-prone environment, and having to consider that constantly, and then actually seeing people in areas that maybe like it would never.
You wouldn't think. No, it's out of the box.
Yeah.
Having both of us living down there, going down that highway, who would think all those homes? Anyway, yes, exactly. And I think though this is very indicative of the immediacy of the moment happening, thinking of Uranus along with Pluto, all these elements on a larger scale that really present trauma for the reason that change is so fast. It's shocking, I'm just trying to tie it in.
Yeah. Oh no. And to Laura's point, that Virgo service, and the shift from Libra to Virgo is also quite profound.
It is.
And I know Laura's she's got a lot of great fueled Virgo energy in her chart, and I think that she could really speak to that shift from Libra to Virgo quite profoundly.
Well, I think, so yeah, it hits my chart. The nodes will hit my chart and this shift very soon, with a 27 MCIC. But
I can testify too. Yes.
But that shift, that Libra, it's the other and it's coupling, but it's air, so it's remains ideas. Where Virgo is, even though it's not a fire sign, which is action, there is more action. It's that, how are we going to solve the problems? Here's what's happening. And also then with things like what's going on in LA, with the rebuild, that it's not just carbon copy of what was there before, needing to be strategic in what are we replacing it with to at least mitigate a repeat, right? That this is the world we live in now. Climate change is real. Fires are happening way after fire season, clearly. And so having to use that Virgo strategy energy and that Piscean big picture, there are no limits, right? Strategic in all directions simultaneously.
In a holistic sense for healing. It's absolutely true. Let's look at this chart a little bit, because we have other factors to bring in, the dispositors, which happen to be Mercury and Neptune, and then how the nodes are going to be hitting it later in the second half. Because it is true. And it happens to be right on my ascendant, speaking of changes. Wow. I am 29 Virgo, so hello, world.
Sue, just before we go there, the ferociousness of the fires and what fueled that were 80-mile-an-hour plus winds, i.e. air.
Yes.
Exactly. And it was like a hurricane without rain.
Yes, exactly.
That fueled it. So I really saw it as like a real demonstration of the nodal shift when I really thought of it elementally.
And it was Santa Ana winds, which for folks who haven't lived in California, it's hot air, literally. It's fiery air.
Beautiful winds. Usually when you live down there, you love the Santa Anas. They're like a welcome, a fresh, buoyant, that full of fragrance. I loved them. I lived there, and it was like, oh, the Santa Anas. I was just remarking about it to my husband days before the Santa Anas hit. You can see here now, this is a Aries point. All these charts are going to be Aries point, because we're speaking universally, telling the audience and it's been identified. So we're not really looking at houses, but it does show that Chiron, boy, right in the first house, which for the United States, we're still in this period of a return. It happens 3 times, and it will be exact, I think, in February. And
I think we'll look at this more as we go through throughout the show, but that this shift happens with Neptune pretty close to the North Node, and that gets tighter throughout the year. But so the dispositor of the North Node in the same spot, so that's amplifying this Piscean energy.
Sue, before you move on, a key planet, I think, in all of this is this one that's been in a retrograde, which is Mars, because Mars ends up now in the sextile trine to the nodes. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa! You're
right. Yes, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
And that being in Cancer, and kind of like it's a reflective, it's retrograde of our energy and how we use it to resolve this opposition has had a profound shift. That's
absolutely
very supportive of the shift.
Yes, and along with Pluto, because they are in this dynamic opposition for some period of time and for continuing. And Mars too it remains retrograde until February 12th, I believe. So it's always like it's a long cycle around Earth, about 2 years. So it's when it does retrograde, as we've mentioned, like in previous wonderful shows, it lasts for months altogether. The whole path is 7 months, and it's in Cancer right now, of homes, of our foundation.
But I do think,
looking
to
at the
your
moon.
point, Sean, it's the nodes shifting. Mars hasn't moved really since the nodes shifted. And yet it went from being the dispositor to the North Node to being the point of Thales of the node.
Yes.
And so it's a
Along with
completely
Pluto.
different relationship overnight.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Profound.
And that is a point of resolution to tie both of what you're saying together, because it's a constructive. It's when there's an opposition, which the nodes are, along with Neptune, this other planet, which happens to be 2 planets in this case, happens to be both, because it's a mystic rectangle, which automatically has the 2 point of Thales, just because of the definitions. There's sextiles, there's trines, and there's an opposition. So it's powerful. Yes, indeed. Very transformative. Mars through his actions, and here assessing what actions to take, and Pluto with its networking, in Aquarius. Let's look at, and I still didn't spell it right. Dispositor, there should be an S, but Mercury is the dispositor of Virgo. And there will be a retrograde process apparent from the 15th of March until April 7th. And it's right during an eclipse season. Mercury of our communication.
So now here we're March 15th. Okay.
It is. It's just realizing that the nodes, how are they being, how should we think about this? And because Mercury is the ruler of, or the dispositor of the south one, what it does is going to impact us, and it will be retrograding.
This North Node is really powerful in this chart. I believe there's an eclipse just before this at 23.
Yeah, but this will be the south, and we'll be talking about the eclipse, Sean, just to say.
Okay.
We're just going to talk about.
I think that, that definitely weighs into this March 15th chart.
It will be. We should jump to that. Okay, we will do that, because
well, I think so. This is the Mercury. Part of why we wanted to talk about this particular Mercury retrograde. If you go back, go forward, Sue.
Okay.
To when Mercury stations with the upcoming retrograde.
Oh, because it's stationed.
So this particular retrograde, Mercury will go retrograde 3 times this year, but this particular retrograde straddles the node.
Oh yeah.
Right. And to the point that it stations direct a degree, not even, right? Like not half a degree.
Yeah. Half a degree, yeah.
From the North Node. So this spring, right, this April, March, April Mercury retrograde will be particularly potent and tied into these nodes. The other ones, while Mercury retrograde is always valuable to look at, don't aspect the nodes in this very direct way.
Wow.
Yes. So
Thank you for bringing the light there.
From 9 degrees, that'll go over Neptune. I mean, not Neptune, but Venus, meaning our heart and our thoughts are so interconnected. And the spark of Aries, how we're initiating, but remembering that guide, Mars, is reassessing. It's going backwards. It's retrograding. And every time it does retrograde, we rethink our steps. And so I'm just going for kind of recapping here. So therefore, as you can see, it goes back over in. Yeah. So that will be powerful. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, with Venus in play there, I mean, there's a great stellium there. With Venus, Saturn, Mercury, and the North Node. That is a potent punch. That is, and it's bringing values and maybe understanding where you've got too many boundaries that restrict your values. Saturn coming in there with Venus.
Well, and part of this too, as you can see, so in this retrograde, Neptune has changed signs.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't even
very
consider
right.
that. Wow.
That is another, which we will exactly, and all
Yeah,
of this,
like that's why, like that, this first Mercury retrograde, it will be a busy spring.
and there's other factors. Okay, just to put the whole set screen, we're at the new play on hand will be the equinox in March on the 20th. So you have right between, there's the eclipse season a week before, the week after, we have a Mercury retrograde right during that time. And at the end of the month, as it's pointed out in April on the 30th, Neptune changes sign. So there's this flashpoint between, and I think as you brought up in the beginning, Sean, with the fire and the water, the whole process. It's this continual burbling, like a happening. Let's go ahead.
Well, wait, just a second, Sue, because again, I want to key in on Mars. Look at how Mars is perfected to the degree in a trine to Venus and Saturn.
Yes.
You know, and Mars is direct at this point. Neptune moving into Aries makes Mars Neptune's depositor now. And so that nurturing energy to nurture what Mercury has gone up and like integrated as
I think it is positive.
Direct.
I love this. Thank you. Because looking at that whole bottom part with all of those sextiles of connection, and that, as we keep referencing the point of Thales, which is a resolution point with Mars, there will be, as we know, looking ahead, strong, constructive ideas. Okay, let's keep going. I'm worried we have about 5 minutes.
We have a mini ground trine here too with Uranus. Mars, Uranus, Saturn, Venus. I mean, it's a really incredible chart. It really is. I look forward to that time. I really do.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
So anyway, all this work, that all this work will work for us. We have eclipses. We won't really look at these in depth because we have future programs that will bring this up. But just to show people that this period involves, because the nodes, as they intersect with the new moon or full moon, and it happens to be now, will be in Virgo, which is out of sign, but it is a total eclipse. So that will be during this time. And again, it shows these powerful trines, along with Uranus. So perhaps what's happening immediately has a beneficial idea. People will think of innovative ways, that we can hope.
Well, and it's a South Node eclipse, so it's looking to what have we done before that could be useful going forward.
Amen.
Good.
And there's just to put a little Mickey into this chart, because I track Urania, which rules astrology, as an object out there. It happens to be at 24 Capricorn that day. So it actually, if I pull that in, there's a kite that it creates. So if you can imagine up in the 10th house, Urania being up there at 24, it was interesting for me to see that going, whoa, is there going to be some like profound, like maybe public 10th house? I know it's a 0.3 star, but like acceptance or like renaissance for astrology that we're going to see come out of this.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. The solar eclipse 2 weeks after will be right on the 29th. It's before Mercury goes direct. However, as one of the dispositors, but it will be always potent. And again, it shows that sextile trine that you were referencing, which is ongoing with Uranus and Mars and Neptune. So that's our visions and going forward and very current. So certainly it is a hopeful ingredient with all of this.
So Neptune's gone. I see. We went backward. We were forwards, and now we're back. Because I'm like watching Neptune going, wait, huh?
Well, that's true, and it's a good factor there because Neptune is, with all these strong indications, another shift that will really. It's a 14-year cycle, people. So when it changes, And it won't stay in Aries all year. It retrogrades back a little bit into 29 degrees later. And then, of course, it continues as all planets do. Well, let's look at Neptune. Here it is, just what I was speaking of. It's been in Pisces since 2011. On the 30th, it ingresses into 0 degrees Aries. But July 4th, USA, Independence Day, it goes retrograde. And in the fall, it enters Pisces. Why do I have Aries there again? Oh, I see. Because
It's
retrogrades into Pisces at 4 degrees Aries.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yep. And at that time, there's this enormous water trine. Once again, water is really speaking to us.
Yeah.
And then later next year, it goes back to Aries. So it's really that dance.
Mars is in harmonious aspect to all of this. When we get further into the year in December, it'll be in Scorpio, making that harmonious aspects. Where it's a Cancer for the early part of the year, I thought it amazing. It's in Scorpio for the latter part. So I'm really excited about all the actions that will take place that will be in harmony to the nodes and all the thing. It's really an astounding year.
It truly is. And Mars is a good marker, as you say, because when it's in that retrograde, which will be between Leo of our manifestations and currently back to our roots of our Cancerian memories, our emotions, everything that's home oriented, building forward. Once it finishes in May 2nd, I think, its whole path, it's forward motion like Aries does to complete all the signs throughout the year. So it's going to be strong. Here we can maybe, I don't know if we can get through this before the break, but we'll try. It's Neptune on the 30th ingressing. What is that meaning? It's, as we pointed out, it will be.
So it's just the day before Mercury stations direct, right? So you can see all this stack up here, right? We've got the Venus-Mercury conjunction. Neptune's just ingressed. It's all tied in with the node of the moon, right? And so we're saying that there'll be this in the midst, maybe part of the gift of Neptune switching signs, because in this Pisces dissolves everything, right? And so Neptune changing signs, perhaps we'll be able to speak to our Neptunian insight rather than losing track of our thoughts, which could be the Mercury-Neptune conjunction with them both in Pisces, is we could lose track of what we're trying to say. It's so dreamy. It's so esoteric. People can't follow us. Suddenly, with the ingress into Aries, we're able to be clearer in our very out there philosophical esoteric concepts, but we'll be able to communicate them more effectively.
And Mars continuing its support for Saturn there, as you just illustrated, in the chart. It's like Mars is like all about supporting that Pisces Saturn, man. It is just like uncanny.
And what you've inspired me, both of you, which just releases so much beauty, is that there is that shadow of victimhood that either Pisces or Neptune, because the forces are greater than yourself. And how can you go forward? But by entering Aries, that spark of courageous can do into the unknown of something, just to become and to start, has great opportunity with it. Shall we pause here and we'll come back?
Well,
again?
Just quickly, because we haven't mentioned it for folks that don't know, is Neptune's a very long cycle.
No, I did
163 and change, right? And so no one alive has experienced this energy that's coming in.
Amen.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, it's in a sign for 14, but yes, you're right.
Well, no, that's the longer thing, I think, is what's important to understand.
No one's going to have a Neptune
elliptical. It's not, yeah.
Well,
None of us.
the
Yeah.
unknown is upon us. The slate is open. We have lots of reason to pick up the pieces and make our own kaleidoscope, mural, and puzzle and work together. So thank you. We're going to come right back. Stay tuned. Talk Cosmos with Planet Buzz, Dr. Laura Tad, and Sean Kelly, and myself, Sue Minahan. Thanks. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, the furthest visible planet by the eye. By leaving a cycle based on meaningfulness and truth, Capricorn's energy establishes social boundaries in a structure incorporating rules, authority, and ethics. As a cardinal earth sign depicted by a sea goat climbing from the sea up to the top of a mountain, Capricorn overcomes fears through goals and ambitions to achieve mastery.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, January 19th, it's Behavior Training and Healing Sunday with me, and talk with your human or animal loved ones on this side or the other, feng shui, astrology, and personal awareness coaching with Natasha Venter. Hope you can join us and plan to call in with your questions for either one of us or a personal reading with Natasha. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Wondering what's on next on Alternative Talk 1150? Check out 1150kknw.com.
Hi. Oh, did we? Oh, good. There's Sean. All right. We are going to go ahead. There we have Sean Kelly, Evolutionary Astro, Dr. Laura Tad of mythicsky.com, and myself, Sue Minahan at Talk Cosmos. We'll run through these briefly, but remember, folks, Laura is facilitating a wonderful event, a retreat for a week coming up shortly. It's her third time. It's in Nicaragua, and you can go. It'll be February 22nd to March 1st. It's the Goddess Awakening Retreat, and you can find everything about it on her site, mythicsky.com. Reservation is still available, and I know that people enjoy.
Yeah, come get out of the cold and hang out on the Pacific coast and the beach and see baby turtles.
Oh,
and get
yummy.
woken up by howler monkeys.
Oh, boy. And then again, you have another event here in March coming up, Laura.
Yeah. So I'll be talking to the Edmund Astrology Association up in Canada. Well, it'll be over Zoom, but they're up in Canada, and looking at family dynamics in astrology and the patterns that can show up in when you look at multiple family members. And so what does some of the family story, family karma, and how that shows up in the chart, and also the outliers that you get and the black sheep. And so people that maybe feel like they really don't fit in their family, and that shows up in the chart where there's maybe they're not fitting into the repeated patterning that is common with other members in their family.
That would be at astrologyedmonton.com under their events, and the membership is very reasonable, especially here for the United States people. It's like $40, which comes to like $27, $28. And then you get all the lectures, which I think this is inspiring me. I'm going to join, Laura, because I want to hear you. Talk Cosmos has all year since December and leading this year about 2025. So do check out the various programs. They all have a different focus, from archetypal symbols back in December and the winter solstice with the vibrational astrology for the entire season going up until March. And then again with Astrojam, which is a very unique way of presenting it from the dynamic view of the planets. We have a lunar cycle that we're working on, the Capricorn one with kaleidoscope visions. And next week is going to be, from an astrological viewpoint, the presidential inauguration, which has to do about the leadership and the charts and what energies are we all experiencing. And of course, Sean, go ahead.
You said the energies we're experiencing, and there's a big old T square in my face there. So.
Oh my goodness, yes. Well, if you need consultations, go to any of us and look at the site. It's true. Thank you, Sean. Well,
wow. So yeah, let's dive into this, Laura. Look at this. Look at this beastie, Jupiter square the nodes. Man, oh man.
Yeah, it's a big one. Squares to the nodes, right? I mean,
right.
And this Jupiter, so if we're looking at the nodes as ideally sort of holding this tension, finding a balance between Virgo, Pisces, right? And in evolutionary astrology, right, we look at squares to the nodes personally as a skip step, and that there's something we're not understanding. There's this like little piece. Oh, you're almost bringing that into harmony, but nope, you haven't gotten this. And so if we look at that, branch that out, then collectively, what are we globally working on to help us integrate these energies, right? It's not just there to be problematic. It's this energy to understand that we have to resolve this to bring this Pisces Virgo energy into harmony. And so it has a lot to do with what we're communicating, right? It's Gemini and Jupiter. So lots of words, lots of talking, lots of communicating. And are we communicating honestly? I think is part of that. Are we speaking our truth? Are we responding honestly? Are we being told the truth? Right. And some of the gift of that Virgo, because Virgo analyzes. So it's like, don't take anything at face value. Libra is much more prone to that than Virgo, right? And so this switch into Virgo is Virgo's not going to take stuff at face value. It is going to take it in and analyze it and say, well, that doesn't track.
Yep.
Does
it fit into a new pattern or not? A belief pattern, perhaps? Like, how does this support? Is the old belief pattern really working? What's been wrong with it? How are we going to shift? And what more information
Gemini
do we need?
Is a data gatherer, right? So a lot of information. It may have a strong piece to do too. I'd be surprised if it doesn't involve some AI stuff and technology in terms of how technology is being fed information too. And how how much critical thinking are we applying to the information technology is providing us?
Absolutely. I'm seeing that even today, where I've got just 3 people in my circle, and I can't believe this, that like have even genderized their AI co-pilot. They've become that friendly with it, and they talk to it every day. And I put in some astrological questions into one of the AIs they were using, and the information it brought back was not accurate. And so I'm going, hey, not only are you giving your data all the way to whichever company you're utilizing here, but how do you know that the information that you're having a conversation about is actually accurate?
Yeah,
that's going on now today. And Laura, I think that speaks right to what you're discussing here. I also wanted to bring into the light real quick that this is happening just before Saturn does an ingress.
Oh yes,
to join Neptune in Aries.
Yeah, that'll be very like in a week. It's what let me think, when is that? It's late. And the last 2 cycles, I looked them up because you were mentioning about cycles here, Laura, but the exact one with these same nodes of Pisces Virgo north and south. And Jupiter in Gemini was back in 1989. And why do I have it 25? I bet I have that wrong because this one's at 25. Oh, shoot. It could be 5 degrees, I think. I think it's at 5 degrees. That was a typo. My apology. And again, it'll be much later in
because they
72.
got into those nodal axes in 87. So towards the end of the cycle, it would be early. So it's probably 5.
Here's a continuation of this energy that is brought up with this Jupiter that's squaring the nodes, as we say, in action. It's wanting to resolve this polarity of thought in some way of our dharma and destiny, one way of putting it. And Thor's hammer is a strong indication that the focal point is really moving the energies, and it happens to be, look at that, emotional transformation with the moon.
Can we speak to the definition of Thor's hammer for some of the viewers that may not be aware of that aspect?
Yeah, sure. Lead on.
Oh, good. I was going to invite you
Yes. It's part of this whole concept, of course. And thank you for drawing that out, Sean. As said before, Thor's hammer, again, it's this terminology. And what it is that there's a square, and square, realize, is 90 degrees. All these aspects are dynamics between planets that share some kind of energetic consciousness. And a square, in my language, is always just action. It's a motivating energy that it has a drive and an assertion. Doesn't have any connotation whether that's good or bad, which a lot of mainstream will attach to it. So forget that, please. And a Ceci quadrate is an augmented square. It's a square energy. It's 90 degrees attached to a half square of 145. So it's 135 degrees. And what does that mean? It's just more impetus for action. So it's really a very, because these energies, think of it as if you were in a spot, just physically speaking, energy flows in a certain direction. Point being that, so yes, the point being that with our, I can rephrase the whole thing by having our belief systems, drawing in more information, refitting them where the missing links are, and to repattern a belief structure that is holistic and healing. We are emotionally transmuting both our sense of what is community and how to elevate our population on a grand scale.
Interesting. Thank you for that. And I kind of see this Jupiter square, especially with the Thor's hammer coming in, because it really emphasizes that Jupiter, that there may be perspectives, i.e. Gemini, that have become suddenly really large, that challenge our ability to let go of some of the analytical processes that have gotten in our way on the Virgo side, and maybe challenge some of the belief systems that we've had. To speak to Laura, like, hey, like maybe we didn't get all the facts there. With what Laura was saying earlier, that seems really emphasized in this. So I do see it as a very positive transformational piece for the collective, let alone individually, and how that might circumstantially show up in your life.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It is emotional, because you're right. The heart, and earlier on, we see in the year the connection between Venus and Mercury, during the spring equinox, which isn't that much ahead of this, but it's really bringing our minds with the dispositor of Mercury, along with our heart of Venus, to connect. And here is the feelings. It's all interchanged. And
this is happening while the sun, although it's not playing in this aspect, while the sun is conjunct Uranus, and it's like, earth-shattering things that kind of shake us into this as well. I could see where that could be a catalyst in this chart. I like where Mars is. Mars is in that Leo spot. It's ready to get on the stage and go. Okay, but wait a second. Maybe I'm not delivering the right message.
Well, here we have a little, more to this picture because I built it step by step.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, but the nodes have, as you point out,
Yeah.
the sun with Uranus, which again in vibrational astrology just says it's the immediate moment. It really doesn't care about the past or the present, even 5 seconds away. So
Right.
in other words, it's like, and it's in Taurus of wanting our stability, of grounding, of our security, life. Like what's going to feed us?
Wow, that is one. Yeah, man, we've just got a year full of some pretty potent charts. I got to say,
It's a building process, isn't it? There is as much as, and I think early on, both of you brought this up, that it's a reality. It's facing reality, which really is Neptune. You know, it can be illusion, and it can be all this imagination, which brings into, but what's the truth of something, and recognizing and working with it.
Yeah, for real. Wow. All right, so now we're into the fall here, or getting to the fall.
This is the last. No, there's 2 more. Yes, that's right. This is where Jupiter again is working with the nodes. So we've let Jupiter. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Jupiter, right in the middle of in June, changes from also having the dispositor of Mercury to going into its yearly rotation of working with Cancer, looking at the moon. So it's changing on a mercurial fashion, but even more rapidly with the moon, of our emotions, of our
I
think it's interesting here though. So right, the first part of the year we get Mars in this point of Thales to the nodes, and now and the latter quarter, right, it'll be Jupiter, right? So just like what we're having go on now with Mars, it'll be a similar relationship in September with Jupiter. And so it's different energies, but similar conversations.
Yeah, because
Right?
one wants action and the other, and then maybe we've done the action, so now we're piecing together how to make it bigger, or how to find belief systems, or
because this Cancer energy gets brought back in, right? And so now, where initially it's action oriented, now there's it's the Jupiter broadens the scope, right? It's carrying on a large scale in general is going to be Jupiter in Cancer, right? And so then this interplay with the nodes. So how are we going to find the big solutions, the collective, right? That Virgo energy of service that has to be larger than just my nuclear family. But if my chosen family or my tribe, it becomes a broader family that is being served and we're seeking solutions for. And
go ahead, sorry.
And it's interesting that it's flipped, right? That we're taking action before we broaden our scope versus the other way around. Like having a broad picture, okay, now we know how to act. First, we're going to act. It's almost like acting small and then it gets bigger.
Well, Cancer does look at security, like it's cautious. Go ahead.
I was just going to just mention here that North Node being at 18 in the second decan, and the depositor for the second decan being Cancer, really emphasizes the fortitude of that Jupiter. It's
wait a minute. Go ahead. So what dispositor? What dispositor?
Well.
Jupiter. Because traditional, not the
18
modern.
degrees. Pisces is this. Its second decan depositor is Cancer.
It's not about
but Jupiter's a because we're talking.
But
more
it's not
Neptune.
about Jupiter, Sue. It's that the second decan of Pisces is Cancer.
I see. Okay, more as far as patterns. Okay,
Yeah,
but it
so
does give that impetus. Yes, of course.
it's
Yes.
you
Gotcha.
know, and like looking a little earlier in the day, we have a moon opposed that
Mhm.
you know, and
Mhm.
so we've got that double point of Thales going where there's a lot. This is a very emotional day, and it's a very
Mhm.
uh, it's a dry emotional day to speak to the moon in Capricorn, but it's about this. This almost shows me a growth pattern from the last chart that we looked at with the Jupiter
In
square
May.
to
Yeah.
this Jupiter where it's at. This looks like a tremendous amount of like growing up
Yeah,
and like
it's
growing up, maturing emotionally over
well,
what happened in the spring.
And maybe
and
Um,
this is
that's
over the summer. Remember, folks, this is like
yeah.
just to kind of land us a little bit. This is September, and this is just before when the next um, eclipse season begins. This is prior to it. And if I
Well,
might
mm,
and
just point
so
to,
and Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces at this point,
mhm.
yes,
right? So it's this review of it, right? It got really the Neptune Saturn conjunction is actually a year away. They get really close, but it's not exact this
Right.
year.
and there's an importance to that that leads to what I had hoped, and I'm glad you brought that up because Saturn, which wants to find what's essential, what's happening, and it's going into the bigger picture and dissolving things in Pisces, is in this connection with Pluto still of transformation in the community. So we're looking at what is the community as a whole, what binds us possibly, but it is in this other aspect. Look to Mercury that was brought up, this ruling art, that whole Virgo energy of trying to figure it out. So through the emotions, we're really going to be hooking up our thought process, and it has a lot of help, put it that way, but it's going to be another important
Well, yeah,
feature.
I think that that's one of the big themes is collectively us learning that you're not going to figure things out just by using your intellect.
Right. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love that. Yes.
Yeah, and there's something about it's time to make a decision, even though you don't want to, with that Mars squaring Jupiter, and and it'll be a T square to that moon too. So there'll be,
Yeah.
something
And
like
with
that brewing
relationships.
up there too. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Well,
yeah.
we have one more and we have a few minutes because
Okay,
at
go.
the end of the year, right around Thanksgiving, just to give a little landmark calendar feature, Mars is coming in again. Mars is now saying, okay, folks, I was not retrograde. I am fully going ahead. And I am now, as you've had all this time throughout the year to work in many new dynamics. And at this moment, I'm not sure what all the outer planets are doing, but I think they've all retrograde pretty much back into the old signs. Now, what do you think? Because you've got to figure out how to do this healing all together.
Yeah, to me this is about like I can't trying to figure out how to balance my own like letting go and spiritual and all the Piscean things and like all the Virgo stuff of how I analyze everything and like why is that not fitting in the big picture is what I get out of that chart.
But look at that grand trine in water and a
It's
kite.
very, very beautiful.
Yeah, it's meaning that if we focus on the now of grounding Uranus in Taurus, and I think Laura will have a few thoughts here, we can navigate by, you were saying it's not all intellect, it's using the spiritual, it's using connections.
Yeah.
Overall,
Other
guys,
dimensional information.
overall, I just want to throw this out there before we close up. Is that Virgo Pisces to me, in my perspective, or just my experience, that is where the magic is in the zodiac. That is like the magical opposition. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
No, go ahead. I'm just closing this
no,
out so we can have our little heads together. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing and listening to Planet Buzz as we talk about these nodes. And Sean, we can talk for a moment or two through the music that's coming up. We always want to thank everybody. So thank you, Dr. Tad, coming in from
Dr.
Ireland. Your connection stayed. And Sean for joining us. And we will look forward because you'll be joining us again in March.
Pleasure.
So, of course,
Thank
it's great. But let's refocus again. We have just begun this journey, haven't we, for a year and a half with the energies. We've covered a lot. It seems like the story has chapters to go and growth.
Well, yeah. And to Laura's, in our pre-chat, Laura mentioned 2006 and 2007 was the last time. And the time before that was, I think it was 87 or
89.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah. And to really look at those places in your life and go, okay, what was going on for me personally, and how, what challenges did I come up with, and how I dealt with them, and what I can do now different.
What a great trio. You are the best, both of you. Thank you so much. The gods are in the details. Pisces, Virgo, nodes. Thank you for listening to Planet Buzz.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.